Welcome to the Know It's Some podcast, bringing you the widest variety of conversational interviews for a well-rounded perspective on life. Because while it's true nobody likes a know-it-all, it's also good to know it's some. Here's your host, Steve Platt.
That's right. Welcome back to the Know It's Some podcast. I'm your host, Steve Platt. And just here at the top of the show, I'd like to renew a little bit of a call to action. You might recall in the last few episodes that I asked for reviews on Podchaser. We only have a handful of them because it's a brand new platform and we are especially new to it. We're trying to get it off the ground. So if you're listening right now and you have not left us a ranking or review on Podchaser, please take a second to go ahead and do so at some time today. We would greatly appreciate it. And of course, we always appreciate Apple or iTunes reviews. Also, a lot of you have been complaining on social media about your podcast listening platform. Not regarding this show, just in general, that you're unhappy with Apple Podcasts or, the Spotify recommendations aren't up your alley. I just want to share with you a little something. There's an app called Good Pods. Good Pods is an incredible app because you can rate individual episodes. You can share what you're listening to with your friends within the app if you would like to. It's just got a social media feel to the podcast listening app. It's called Good Pods. It's incredible. If you're on there already, make sure that you give us a 5-star rating on any of the episodes that you've listened to that you really love. So you have 23 episodes out with this one, and any of those 23 that you find to be particularly amazing, go ahead and give a 5-star review within that app. It'll let me know which episodes you as the listeners love so that I can bring you more of the same kind of content going forward. All right? Cool deal? Awesome. It's very, very helpful to get those rating and reviews. It helps us bring back interesting guests week in and week out. And I'll tell you, this week is no exception. We have a very interesting guest for you. He's like the answer to if Anthony Bourdain were Cuban. This is the Anthony Bourdain of my group of friends. He's a really, really cool guy. Been all over the world. Done a lot of really cool things. What he has is this incredible media production company that has worked with great companies, big brands, a lot of celebrities. We're talking things like Carnival Cruise Lines and Hard Rock. He's worked with celebrities like Emeril Lagasse, Guy Fieri. He's worked with Carrie Underwood, like that kind of stuff. But it's not just that he's worked with big brands or famous celebrities. He's just a really cool guy to be around. He's very genuine, hardworking, and his work is incredible. I mean, you got to check out some of the videos he's done, some of the photos he's shot. It's amazing. His clients benefit greatly from it, and so they bring him back very frequently because he's very good at what he does. He's the kind of guy that I call when I want a travel recommendation because he's been there, done that. If you haven't checked out his stuff yet, you need to go and check out his social media. He drops the handles at the end of the episode, so make sure you stick around for that because you're going to want to see where this guy has been. Peter's amazing. Peter is the founder and owner of Boldman Media. Just really and truly incredible what he has done. Used to be called Boldman and the Sea Media. You might see some of that stuff when you go with your Google search in to find his content. But yeah, Boldman Media, they're amazing. Proud to call this guy a friend. Really glad he was on here. I will say this. There was a particularly bad storm in Miami when we were recording. He was recording from his house, and, the call dropped at one point. So we got back on, figured I could edit it all together. I'm talking to you just a few hours before the episode drops. I just finished doing some final editing, and I did find that towards the end of the episode, maybe the last 6 minutes or so, there's some audio quality issues. It kind of cuts in and out a little bit. That's on me, folks. I should have been able to catch it in time to schedule a re-recording. Wasn't able to do that. My apologies to Peter. My apologies to the listener. There are a couple glitches in the audio towards the end. You get the gist of the interview anyhow with this, so bear with me. And again, apologize for any audio quality issues towards the end of the episode. All right. Well, I'm going to let Peter tell it from here. He's got an incredible story. You're going to want to hear from him, so let's bring him on. Please welcome Peter Gonzalez. Hey, Peter, how are you doing? Welcome to the Know It's Some podcast.
How's it going? Thanks for having me. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, man. Well, it's an honor to have you on. I've not just been a friend of yours, but a fan of yours and the stuff that you do. And I'm excited for people to learn about it. I know we're going to talk Boldman Media in a second, but before we get into what you're doing now, I just got to ask you. I remember you back at the University of Florida from our college days as being front of camera talent at like WUFT, for instance, like the news station. And I worked there after you behind the camera doing production, that kind of side of things. How did you get into journalism at all, media at all? Like, when did this start for you?
So for me, this started in high school, as crazy it would sound. Um, in high school, I just kind of loved the newspaper and was really into that. My mom kind of pulled me aside one day and was like, hey, you might want to think about getting onto the other side of things. Don't know how much longer print is going to keep proliferating at the rate that it is. And that turned out to be pretty good advice.
Yeah.
Um, Ended up took a TV production class and completely just fell in love with it, man. Went nuts. And then, yeah, I was 13. Now I'm 37. So it's been a beat.
A few years ago. You've been doing this for a minute.
It's been a beat, yeah.
So there at the University of Florida, you were a journalism major?
So back then it was called telecommunications news. So basically a TV news major.
Got you. And you worked at WUFT.
Yeah.
And coming out of college, what kind of work were you able to find at that time? I know that, if I'm not mistaken, it was just a few years before the recession. So things, I think, were still good when you got out.
Yeah, it was good for a bit. So basically when I wrapped up everything at UF, graduated as a news anchor, and loved it, but kind of just didn't. I mean, you know me, man, I'm kind of a clown. I don't really like, I can't be the bearer of bad news forever.
Right.
And and what they do definitely serves a role in society, and they're very, very needed. But I think you got to have the personality, and you need to be able to really be okay doing that all the time. And you need to have that mental strength. And like I said, I'm a clown. That wasn't me. So at the end of graduation, started looking at everything, and I saw a job that was completely out of the realm of anything I had ever done. And that was a show about tattoos called Miami Ink. And they were just starting to blow up, were incredibly highly rated on cable at that point. And I applied. I kind of took a swing at it, had an interview. And yeah, I ended up getting the job after I graduated.
That's pretty cool. So you got to work on a popular show in the city that you grew up in.
Yeah, and the kind of nuts part was I was finishing my last two classes, which, if I'm being honest, were not very complicated. I was taking flag football, so obviously really just hard hitting course, and then finalizing one math class that I'd kind of put off forever.
Right. Math for liberal arts majors kind of stuff.
Basically, yeah, that's exactly. I think it was MGF 1107 or 1106, like a freshman level course that I just put off forever. So I would basically work all week at Miami Ink, and then for the last 2 months, I would drive up and take whatever tests and turn in whatever courses I needed to, because obviously, we weren't in the COVID days then, so virtual classes, I'm dating myself, weren't as robust as they are now. But yeah, I drive up every weekend, and
I think that was around the time that I met you. I'm pretty sure. During those days.
It was a good time.
Oh yeah, good time for any Florida Gators. It was a time where we were winning championships and Heisman trophies and that kind of stuff. So from Miami Ink, how did you get to Boldman Media? So for the listeners that are unaware, Boldman Media used to be Boldman and the Sea Media, incredible production company. They are just extremely creative. Their content's amazing, and they've worked with some big names. How did you get to start this company?
So so in college, right, started a fraternity. I've always kind of had this entrepreneurial side, and I've always liked kind of identifying the market and then finding things I didn't really like about it and try to make my own. And at a certain point, so after Miami Ink left, worked with NBC for a little bit, did some stuff here locally in Miami, got to report on cars and food. That was fabulous.
That is fun.
Yeah, that was great. Then the economy kind of stops at that point, and I was like, okay, well, let's take a pause here. Let's think about what I'd want to do. And I was like, you know what? At that point, I had never left the United States, and I was like, this is a problem. I need to start seeing the world. And I just kind of thought, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And I just started scouring at that time, Craigslist for job posts, because that's where a lot of jobs in TV had kind of existed. And I see this one job post and I'm like, wow, this is perfect. This is literally exactly what I want to do. And I applied to it. I ended up getting an email back in about 45 seconds, which
Wow.
was just great. And I kind of felt like, all right, I'm on the right path here. The email
That's a
address
good
ended
sign.
up being from Carnival.
Okay.
Went on one shoot with them, kind of fell in love with it, and was like, hey, I really, really want to start traveling with you guys. So I worked with them for a little bit, and then we kind of hit a point where it was like, look, you're operating as a contractor, but we know you need to grow because you need more help. You can't handle everything we're throwing at you. So what are you thinking? And I was like, well, I think this would be a great moment to open a company, and I'll incorporate and do all of that if you guys are still willing. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. Go for it. And it was fantastic. And they had a lot of faith in me and trusted me. And I will be, eternally grateful for that. And then from there it started. And,
So how old is Boldman now then?
We are about to celebrate we just celebrated our 11th anniversary.
Congratulations. That's amazing. So
I always joke with my wife. I'm like, man, Boldman is my second longest relationship behind you. Like, there's something wrong with you.
Well, I mean, you've been a hard worker as long as I've known you, and it was just a matter of time before something caught on like this. And like you said earlier, right, you were looking for where there was a need that you could fill in a better way than other people have done it. And, it's that whole necessity is the mother of invention kind of a deal. I think what you're able to provide with Boldman is unique, and a lot of other production companies just, I don't know, man, they don't get it. When I watch your stuff, it's definitely eye-popping. Carnival was I guess the inception of it, but you've worked with a lot of other clients. I think you've also worked with Royal Caribbean at one point, and Hard Rock. So some big name clients. Where is the focus? Is there maybe like a central focus to what you're able to provide?
So for us, we do three main things. So I tell everybody, I'm like, look, our major tent poles are video, because that's naturally where the company began. Then I'm always really driven by passion. So if I'm obsessed with something, that's kind of where I want to be going, right? Just because that's what intrigues me, and passion begets innovation, in my opinion. So started with video, and then halfway through in the video world, they kind of the technology began meshing. So video cameras and photo cameras started doing the same thing. So at this point, it kind of allowed me to start playing with photo, and I was like, wow, I love this. And for anybody who's ever done photo or video, they are similar, but two wildly different things, right? It's almost like if you know two twins, right?
Right.
Two twins, there's a good chance they probably look similar and do a lot of things similarly just because of gene code. But then they're obviously wildly different because they're two different people. Same kind of deal, and totally fell in love with photo, and that, opened up a whole new stream of everything with us as a company, which allowed us to just kind of express creativity completely different. And then the third pillar, I guess, is social media. And social media kind of became this platform where we could start coming up with these crazy ideas and just, being able to play with it and do all of these different things. And it was allowing us to work with different brands and start showing cool different things. And then for us, we kind of took all of that, and we've been doing that, like I said, for, over a decade now. But towards the end of it, now we're at a point where we're actually making original content and TV shows, and all of this kind of started from the back end. And it's been a fun ride, man. I'm enjoying it. I have to admit, I'm enjoying it. I have a lot less hair and a lot more grays than when I started it, but I'm enjoying it.
Well, it's fun to watch. You mentioned that third pillar of social media, and I know that it relies heavily upon those first two. When you're working with a client, I mean, it's got to be fun now to kind of play around with which of those two mediums, whether it be photo or video, would make the most sense for a social media post or a campaign, and it probably gives you a lot of flexibility, right? I mean, in terms of what you're able to deliver.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we have these opportunities with these brands, and they'll get really stoked about certain things. And I mean, we've done so many random things that have just been an absolute blast. So going back to the carnival world, right? They come up to me one day and they're like, hey, we really want something super out of the box that we think will be completely crazy and totally different from anything you've ever done. And at this point, La La Land was kind of blowing up, and we were like, let's do a musical. And I was completely expecting them to be like, "You've lost it. Get out of the room." And they were like, "No, we love it. Do it." And then we went for 6 days and shot on the pre-maiden voyage of a vessel and spent 6 or 7 days in the Mediterranean and the Adriatic knocking out this musical. And it ended up being one of the greatest work experiences of my life. And then on the exact flip side of that, we've done so many things in food and just different sides of the world that have just been absolutely wild. So it's cool. It's really cool. And just getting to work with different clients and try different things.
Working with different clients and doing cool things like that. I mean, you've also done a number of different, I guess I'd say, I don't even want to say videos. You've done all sorts of creative work with different celebrities. And I'm jealous because you've met people like, Carrie Underwood and I think Brad Paisley. I know you did stuff with Guy Fieri. What's the most unexpected story that you probably would have with a celebrity that you've worked with?
Oh man, that's wild. That I can talk about on the show.
Yeah, I know there's certain things we can't share, no kissing and telling, but there's probably some good stories that you have there.
So if you know me, I enjoy eating. I would say probably one of my favorite ones was we were shooting with Guy Fieri, and we were shooting at his house. And first off, super, super nice guy, probably like one of the nicest people I've ever met. We're shooting at his house and it gets to be time for lunch, right? And if you've ever been on a production, there's always craft services, there's a table, the whole thing. And we get to lunch and I'm taking, at that point I was shooting on a Steadicam and I'm taking my Steadicam off and he comes up to me, he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm going over to craft services." And he's like, "You like pizza?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he grabs some of us from, or he rounds us up. He rounds up some of our production crew and some of the people from from Carnival. And he's like, "Come with me." And he walks us over to this wood fire stove and just starts teaching us how to make pizza and starts making us pizza and hanging out in the middle of like a production day. And I'm like, "Is this really happening? Is this actually happening? Am I here with the mayor of Flavortown and he's making us pizza?" And
That's
yeah,
amazing.
he was just fantastic. And it was obviously a really, really memorable moment and something that my crew and I will still randomly chat about because it was just like the most unexpected, most genuine moment. And I love those moments when you meet someone who is obviously a titan of their industry and known for what they do. But then when you see that it's something that they're so passionate about, it's not just a facade. Like that's who they are, it's in their DNA. And just in the middle of a shoot to like pause and be like, "Yo, I'm going to go cook this. You want to try it?" It's like, "Oh yeah, I want to try this."
So that's probably the greatest dream of mine. I'm also a foodie, and my wife and I watch Food Network a lot. And I gotta say, what you just experienced in that scenario is probably our fantasy: is to have somebody like Michael Simon, Bobby Flay, Garnaschelli cook a meal for us. You had Guy Fieri showing you how to make pizza. That's amazing. Just really, really, really cool. By the flip side, and we won't name names or anything, but I'm assuming not every celebrity you've worked with is as amazingly nice as Guy Fieri. You probably had some difficult clients as well. What are some of the challenges there in producing content for your client when maybe the endorser or the celebrity spot is not the easiest to work with?
I mean, look, the bottom line is everyone in the industry knows we're here for a purpose and we're trying to accomplish a goal. And I would say that having challenges is definitely the exception to the rule. I've very rarely dealt with people who haven't wanted to finish the mission, to quote Urban Meyer, right?
Right.
And realistically, I would say I was on one shoot in LA, and we were dealing with this one fairly large pop star, and she just wasn't having it, and she was just kind of burnt out that day and just didn't want to be a part of the interview and was just kind of like, "Look, I'm done. I'm out. Not doing it."
Right.
But then,
and you don't know what they're going through, right?
No,
So
of course.
it's hard to judge.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is like, look, from the other side of the coin, she could have been completely rude and been mean, but she just came up and was like, "Look, I'm having one of those days. I can't. It's not going to be a thing. Thanks for your time. I apologize, but I'm not going to do this today. I'm gassed. I've been doing this for however many hours." And I'm like, "Thanks for the honesty. I'm not going to fight with you. Thank you for letting me know, and we'll pivot and make the production work somewhere else." My view on these things is I'm not their dad.
Right.
I've got my own kids. I'll be their dad. Everyone else, it's just kind of like, look, you do you. and we'll roll with it as best as we can. That's kind of the whole. I always joke that like my favorite parachute is creativity,
Yep.
because when things hit the fan, you got to figure out a way to get around it, and it is what it is, and
Yep.
we pride
And
ourselves on being able to do that.
in the Marine Corps, we say adapt, improvise, and overcome. And I think you embody that in what you're able to get done in those situations, because you do a lot of travel, right? And the weather's not always going to cooperate. I have seen a thunderstorm or two in the area of the Caribbean, and you worked with cruise lines. So the fact that you're able to capture amazing content, make things work, no matter what the obstacle or challenge that's presented, is really incredible. On that note, traveling all over the place, you've been to some 50 odd countries or more. What's your favorite place that you've been to?
Oof. Okay. Wow. That's a doozy. So
I got to get a couple, because I know Bora Bora is big for you and I. I got to spend a week there, or a little over a week there, and I know you did about the same. And so that one, I'm gonna rule that one out, because that one's obvious. That's like living in paradise. Aside from Bora Bora, what are some of the lesser known or expected places that you found some beauty at?
So I definitely agree with you. I think Bora Bora is the prettiest place I've ever seen. I'll throw that out there.
It's definitely paradise.
Yeah, my favorite place. So basically, like, and I always play this game at the office. I ask everyone, like, oh, if you win the lottery tomorrow, or if you retire tomorrow, what are you doing? For me, if I were to retire tomorrow, I'm probably moving to Maui. I
Wow.
absolutely love Hawaii. It's just everything's gorgeous, everything's easy, everything is fantastic. I really dig Maui. On the opposite side of this, I absolutely adore the Amalfi Coast of Italy. Like, adore. I think it is one of the most stunning places on the planet. And then one of the places, I was actually there 2 months ago, that I don't like talking about, because I don't want a lot of people to go there, because I like that a lot of people don't go there. But we just got back from Antigua.
Mm.
And for me, I'm always trying to find the best beach on earth. That's kind of like one of my weird goals. I would say the beaches that I experienced on Antigua were like top 3 I've ever seen. And like you said, I've been to 50 countries at this point, 51 countries. So it's, yeah. And Antigua really blew me away with its beaches. Same deal with Turks and Caicos. So if you've ever been to Grace Bay, that beach is just a stunner, an absolute stunner. And then I do think we're approaching a time where, especially a lot of Westerners, I think we should spend a little bit of time in Asia, and just to kind of learn and see how different it is, but how beautifully different it is. I spent the year turning into 2020, right? So before the world shut down,
Yep,
we
I
spent some
remember
time
that.
in Asia. Yeah. Starting in Singapore, and I was completely blown away. I got there and I was like, I have arrived in the future. This is bananas.
That is exactly my impression of Singapore. I have some friends stationed there from the Marine Corps. Natalie and I are one of her mentors at her job is from Singapore, and that is just like you said. It is futuristically developed. The city's incredible. I think it's one of the countries featured heavily in that movie Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah. So fun fact: while we were there, we were talking with a tour guide, because I talk a lot. And the tour guide was letting me know that actually they shot a couple scenes there, but the vast majority of those scenes were actually shot in Malaysia.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
No
closer to
kidding.
Kuala Lumpur. I was unaware. Also, another really cool city to get a chance.
Blow my mind.
Very cool.
I would like to visit Malaysia, but I'd also like to return home. And there's been a couple flights out of there that don't necessarily reach their destination. So I'm a little nervous about traveling Malaysia Airlines at the moment.
I will preface it with that I flew to Singapore. I want to say it was on American Airlines, and then we did a cruise all the way around that region, and then I flew back on American Airlines.
Got you. But yeah, one of those planes is definitely the next season of Manifest, and so I'm just trying to.
Show, by the way, that show's bananas.
It is. It's crazy. So here's a travel question I wanted to ask you that you don't get asked as much. So everybody always asks you, what's the craziest beach you've been to, or the greatest, cruise ship or whatever. I know that you're not done traveling. I know that you probably want to visit more countries than you already been to. and there's got to be a bucket list, and there's got to be a destination at the top of that bucket list. So out of the places you have not yet been able to set foot in, what's at the top? What's your biggest desire? Maybe you're planning it, saving it up. Where do you want to be?
Oh, for me right now, I'm dying to go to New Zealand and Australia. Absolutely dying to go there. We spent New Year's this year in Kenya and Tanzania.
Nice.
And it was my first time to the African continent and completely fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Definitely. What?
It's a big place.
It's huge. So we definitely want to go spend some more time there. I know on the short list is definitely South Africa. Spent a little bit of time last year in Argentina and Peru and Brazil. I definitely want to go check out Chile just to kind of check that out. And then there's a lot more of Peru I want to go see. Like a lot more of Peru I want to go see. And then I have to get back to Japan. We love Japan, and we were there for a good bit. I want to say we were there for like 10 or 11 days. But I definitely feel like I didn't even scratch the surface.
Yeah, I've had the good fortune of being able to live in a lot of great places, Southern California, San Diego area with great weather. I've lived in Japan. I've lived all over the U.S., and Japan's probably the place that I've lived that I miss the most. It is such a unique culture. The people are so great. The food and not maybe to the extent of Singapore, but they are a little advanced. They got some really cool vending machines, really cool situations all over the place that you could kind of run into. I really miss it. So I'm with you there.
I went nuts in Japan, and I would say for any parents out there, just because if you know me, I'm a pretty large Disney file as well. I would argue they have the best Disneyland and Disney parks on the planet there.
Got you. Well, I have not checked those out yet. We are Disney files.
When the baby gets when she gets a little older, you should head out there.
For sure. And that's really all we're waiting on at the moment with the toddler. So I got to ask you, I follow you on social media. I'm going to have you drop your handles at the end of the episode. It's incredible content. I love all the photos from different places around the world and the content you create for your clients. But whether it's something that you took for fun, like a photo that you took for fun on a family vacation, or a job that you did, when it comes to social media, how do you keep on top of it all? Because for me, they're constantly releasing things, whether it be Instagram Reels or new TikTok videos and filters and duets and you name it. And it's hard to keep track. And sometimes, you blink and you miss it. I think Twitter announced that fleets are going away. I struggle to keep up with the content that can stay in front of people, but you do such a great job of not just creating content, but also engaging with the people that follow you on social media. I notice a lot of engagement posts. Is that kind of something that's near and dear to you, the social media aspect of your business?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I always try to take on projects that I'm really, really passionate about, just because, and I know that sounds like ridiculously cliche, but it is what it is, right? Like I would much rather work on things that I enjoy than to do something that it's not, that's not really what's moving the needle for me. So that helps. Yeah. Social media wise, like that's definitely one of those things that if I did win the lottery tomorrow, I would keep doing because I'm kind of obsessed with it. And I think it comes down to the crux of, like I was saying earlier, I like talking a little bit. It's a cool opportunity to number one, like keep in touch with everyone. But on top of it, especially because I would say arguably my largest passions, aside from, my family, are travel and photography. So we're talking about a platform that there is just so much content out there to be able to consume and learn about. And that's where a lot of these places that I do want to go visit, I find, right? Oh, so another on that list is the Philippines, just because that ticked in my head again. But that's a place that honestly I've spent a long time exploring, quote unquote, on social, seeing these incredible spots that I kind of want to get out there and see. And then that's, just because I am spending so much time on those platforms, that's when you start seeing a lot of these trends at their very, very early stages, or just starting to identify like, ooh, okay, this is happening now. This is a new functionality. I could do this. I could try this. I could do this. And just kind of from there, it's just kind of letting the creativity run wild, right? Letting my inner 13-year-old out, which is good because mentally I'm, internally I'm only a 16-year-old. So It's not hard to let the 13-year-old out, but just kind of bouncing around and doing those kinds of things.
Very, very cool. Very cool. So Peter, tell me about Searching for Maximum Flavor. It looks like a really, really cool show. We talked earlier about working with chefs that we admire, and Chef Adrian is a personal favorite of Natalie and mine as foodies. Tell me what it's like, and tell me a little bit about Searching for Maximum Flavor for those who have not seen it.
Oh man. So like I was saying, I like to work on things that I'm passionate about. And this is absolutely my passion primarily. So we're getting a chance to work with Chef Adrian Calvo. So she's got 4 restaurants here in Miami. They're all fantastic. She's on TV once a week. You will see her all over the place. Immensely talented. And it's just been an absolute blessing to work with her. So we kind of conceive this show, and it's following as she's exploring all of these different cities or locales, right? And trying all of their food and basically going through and developing actual city or just to get kind of a vibe for the city. And then at the end of every episode, she takes all of that inspiration, right? All of that maximum flavor that she's been searching for, puts it all together and creates this incredible dish and teaches the audience how to try and make it at home. Or, you know, you can also go try it at some of her restaurants. So it's been fantastic. Like honestly, the only downside is that my clothes isn't fitting quite right after on the 9th episode in the can here, but it has been fantastic. So to give you a little bit of a background, so far we've gone to New Orleans, Austin, Napa, Jackson Hole, Wyoming, like St. Thomas, Puerto Rico. It's just been an absolute dream, and we're just getting started. So I highly recommend everyone go check out the show. Only warning is you will get hungry. So I'll let you know that now. But it's been an absolute blast to shoot. Just an absolute blast.
I've seen a number of the episodes. Really, really, really cool. What a challenge. My thoughts and prayers to you to have to go to all these amazing places and eat wonderful food.
Someone's got to do it, right?
Yeah, somebody has to. Where can people find Searching for Maximum Flavors, and where can people find Boldman Media? I know your wife has a social media page that I'd like to plug because as a Disney file and travel file that now has a kid, and I know you guys do a lot of stuff traveling with your kids, it's a great page to follow as well. So let's drop some social media handles here.
All right, here we go. Shameless plug time. Shameless plugs. I love it.
Here we go.
So my channel on Instagram, if you want to see a lot of travel photos and all that type of stuff, you can find me at Mr. Peter Gonzalez. So that's where I am, and those are with Z's, not with S's, and Gonzalez. Gotcha. Boldman Media, you can just search Boldman Media on, and you can find us there. The show, you can check out YouTube, and you can look for Searching for Maximum Flavor. That'll pop up there.
Nice.
Latest episode was St. Thomas. Highly recommend that we actually go and we find a pizza boat, which I did not even know was a thing. Like you just pull up to this boat in the middle of the Caribbean and order fantastic pizza. So check it out. We're always going off the beaten path. Over to Amy's page. So my wife is probably the brains of our operation. She is definitely smarter than
I can attest to that, folks.
100%. She's at Living Aimfully. And if you are like Steve was saying, right, we do a lot of travel with the family. We have 3 kids. My eldest is 8 years old, and I want to say she's been to 37 countries at this point.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we
passport gets stamped.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like our viewpoint is there is no greater teacher than experience. And what is the old Cuban saying? Que me quite lo bailado, right?
Yep.
We try to make it so that our kids are just experiencing everything. And we also want them to see that the world is a big place. And when you go to all of these places, you learn, you know, we want our kids to understand that we're all the same. We're all the same all over the planet, you know, and we want them to understand, like, love everybody, make friends with everyone, try to hear everybody's story and try to walk a mile in everyone's shoes. That's a big thing that's important to us. But you can find Amy's page at Living Aimfully. And hers is just a wealth of photo and family and tips and tricks on how we do this with kids. And so many people ask me, like, when we went to Africa, we were in a plane, we did 3 different flights, and everybody kept asking us, like, how did you do this? How did you get through this without having these problems, and having other challenges, right? And we were like, very simple. We told them a month out that we were going to be going to this. And at that point, we absolutely restricted every bit of technology in our home. And we told them, you're not going to have it until you get on the plane. So there was literally no TV in our house, no iPads, no phones, nothing. So by the time we got on the plane, we were like, here you go nuts. Because our viewpoint is, other people are on the plane also. We want to try and make it as smooth a process for everyone.
Right.
And let's be honest, planes can get kind of tedious if you're on it for 28 hours. A 37-year-old now get bored, let alone, my 3-year-old daughter. But that trick seems to work really well. And, thankfully they were good on those planes.
That's awesome. I can't stress it enough to everybody to check out those social media sites, whether it's Instagram, YouTube. Check out this content. It is incredible. And to anybody that's out there that is looking for somebody to create content for their business, I can think of nobody better than Boldman Media. Peter, thanks so much for spending time with us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, of course. Thanks so much for having me. This was a lot of fun. It was good catching up, man.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
And that'll do it for another episode of the Know It Some podcast. My thanks again to this week's guest, Peter Gonzalez. Always a great conversation. Really appreciate your time. Folks, check out Searching for Maximum Flavor. It's available right now, and nobody does better work than Boldman Media. So you're going to want to check out Searching for Maximum Flavor and follow them on social media. It's a great follow, especially if you have that wanderlust bug. Go ahead and do that. And while you're at it, follow us on social media. We're all over social media at Know It Some Pod. We're on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. Whatever your favorite social media platform is, follow us there, like and share our posts, and help us reach a greater audience so we could bring you great guests week after week. Another great way to support the show would be to leave us a review on Podchaser. Podchaser is a brand new little platform. We're new on it as well, so there's not that many reviews or rankings on there yet. It's the best way to support the show, and I like it better than charging for a subscription or a Patreon or anything like that. Just rather grow the reviews, grow the show, so that's the best way to help. Another great way would be to leave us a ranking on Apple or iTunes. Appreciate all the support. I know it's been a rough week for those of us in the veteran community with what's going on in Afghanistan. Appreciate those of you who have reached out. Look, we're going to keep plugging along here week after week. We're 23 episodes in. We're just getting started. I appreciate everything, and I'll see you next week.